William Afton is not a man anymore. He's a virus, spreading through games, music, minds, and memories. Once a father, now a ghost in the machine. He died, and we made him immortal. But how did we let him inside our heads? It started with a tragedy. Somebody lost a child, wanted to fix it, but grief festered, so he chased control. Then he fell, and took the world with him. Who was William Afton? Before the murders, the suit, the myth. Why do fans say he won even in death? What makes him so unforgettable, even decades later? Is there any truth to the idea that he represents more than just a villain? In this video, we're going to uncover the truth behind the man known as William Afton. We'll explore who he was before the purple suit and how grief and ego twisted him. We'll look at why fans keep resurrecting him in music, theories, and memes, and whether Afton has become more than just a villain. Maybe a reflection of something inside us all. I'm not just analyzing Afton, I'm dissecting a myth, a manifestation of obsession, guilt, and self-destruction. This isn't just a low breakdown, this is psychological archaeology. We like to tell ourselves that monsters are born, that evil is some foreign force that creeps into a man's soul and rots it from the inside. But what if it wasn't rot at all? What if it was logic, obsession, a belief that death is optional and consequences are a fiction for the weak? William Afton isn't just a villain. He's a case study in delusion, a man who outlived his humanity long before his body gave out. This isn't just about animatronics or purple spirits. This is about the slow decay of accountability, the myth of immortality, and the broken family that got caught in the storm. This is an introspective deep dive into William Afton's psyche and cultural influence. I'm not just exploring the character, I'm dissecting a mythos, a fragmented monster built from decades of canon, fanon, grief, and obsession. Welcome to the Narrative Alchemist, and this is a manifesto.
It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity of this creature, this monster that I unwillingly helped to create. As if what he had already done wasn't enough, he found a new way to desecrate, to humiliate, to destroy. As if the suffering wasn't enough, the loss of innocence, the loss of everything to so many people. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable. He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together. Are they still aware? I hope not. It keeps me awake at night. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this. He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there again. He overpowered them again, and he robbed them of the only thing that they had again. I don't know how those tiny breaths of life came to inhabit those machines, but they will never find rest now, not like this. I have to call them all back, all of them, together in one place. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends for all of us.
I am given flesh to be your tormentor.
I will never let you rest.
This is how it feels, and you get to experience it over and over and over again, forever. I will never let you leave.
Tried to release us, but I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here, no matter how many times they burn us.
I don't even remember what it was like before. That's how long I've been in this goddamn suit. You know, sometimes the suit still goes off by itself.
Oh, for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
What do you want from me?
You are hurting, Mr. Afton. You're an open wound. And I am here to make you bleed.
With the customers all buying and the money multiplying and the PR people lying and the lawyers acting lying. Who cares if some things are dying? I don't wanna hear you crying. This is all so left out to forge forever. We'll ignite with lifeline severed. Immortal lies, endless life. Oh, condemn them to their final verdict. Give their right to the deserving. Let their remnants cry. I remain unbroken.
Down for the fan of delusion that don't understand it. A man's or illusion. The hand keeps a ticking, the sound that we're losing. A land will be filled with the mind of the bruise. And they ran to the thought of a planned revolution. And I will not stop to my last execution.
This script will feel more clinical and robotic than my past videos, just letting you know. This video will be kind of like an all-rounder, covering most aspects of William Afton, from interpretations, fan interviews, in-game voice lines, and music. I'll have a little piece of text in the corner showing the credits of the person's work I'm referring to at the moment if you ever want to check them out yourself, which I would highly recommend. During the script writing process, I realized the script was so huge it would be multiple hours long. Since my channel doesn't have much traction yet, I'll put this video out in a few parts with an afterglyph echo continuing my story at the end of each video. Then I'll upload them all together as one big video when all the parts are done. This is the smartest thing for me to do, both for my own sanity when it comes to editing and having more videos uploaded to attract new viewers. Without further ado, let's get into this. I break it all down in 4 simple parts: the father and the man, the monster and the immortal, the myth and the legend, the mirror and interpretation. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why we can't stop talking about him and maybe why he always comes back. But before he was the man in the suit, before Springtrap, before I always come back, there was a father, a lab coat, a home, and a child who never made it home from a birthday party. What if that was the day William Afton truly died? Let's start there. The father and the man. Once there may have been love, a family, a home, but obsession is a fire that consumes gently at first, then rages. Did he grieve or did he see tragedy as opportunity? His family was collateral damage. Afton isn't just a killer, he's a father, and he failed. The emotional wreckage of Michael, Elizabeth, and the crying child isn't background noise. It's the true cost of Afton's crusade. He was the father who failed.
I always come back. What a deceptive calling. I knew it was a lie the moment I heard it, obviously. But it is intriguing nonetheless. Fascinating.
As you can see, Afton has failed his family. Most of this chapter will cover his family and the victims of his crusade to immortality who were left in his wake. All the chapters after this one will focus on William only. From MDPTV's first interview with Michael, we can see some key traits about his psychological profile. There's 5 points I noticed there. He's quietly tragic. Michael comes across as soft-spoken, emotionally repressed, and deeply traumatized, in sharp contrast to Springtrap's volatile madness. He's haunted and disoriented. He frequently admits confusion and memory loss. I forgot who I am sometimes, indicating possible neurological decay or psychological trauma from being partially dead or reanimated. He's burdened by family legacy. He acknowledges William as his father, but views that relationship with detachment. His life has been consumed by trying to understand and stop his father's evil. He's a resilient survivor. Despite being mutilated, skinned, and betrayed by others, he endures. There's a quiet heroism and perseverance to him. He's not seeking revenge, just understanding. He's isolated and despairing. Michael sees himself as a monster and an outcast, resigned to death, yet he is grateful for simple human connections, thanking the interviewer sincerely. His humanity still flickers under all the pain. When comparing this interview with J. Jim's fantastic interpretation of William Afton, my favorite depiction,
And I do it again, too. I don't think you quite appreciate how difficult it is for me to speak, do you?
we can see some key traits and his psychological profile. He's openly remorseless. His first words, "Yeah, I killed those bastards, and I'd do it again too," show no remorse or guilt. He acknowledges his crimes with pride, suggesting deep-rooted psychopathy. He has deep internal suffering. The bitterness and how he talks about his inability to speak, describing it as like a mother static, reveals that existence in the suit is torturous. Despite his villainy, his experience has been one of long-term psychological and mental agony. He's delusional and unstable. The laughter, first bitter, then manic, signals a fractured mind, likely from decades of entrapment. He goes between amusement, pain, and fury, indicating psychological deterioration. He's possibly disassociative or glitching. The sudden switch to animatronic behavior, "Do you want a free token? Give me a big hug," suggests glitches or fragments of programming, implying that he's not entirely in control of his mind or body anymore, but he's still dangerous. The abrupt end with him attacking the interviewer reaffirms that he's unpredictable and violent, driven by instinct, madness, or lingering malice. For some thematic notes, I might add that Springtrap embodies the rotting consequences of unchecked evil. His body is a prison, is warped beyond redemption. He is a symbol of karmic horror, a murderer trapped in a shell of his own cruelty. On the other side of the coin, for Michael, however, I might say some thematic notes for him are that a victim of generational trauma and corruption trying to make sense of a nightmare legacy. He is the mirror opposite of William. Where William clings to life with malice, Michael exists with sorrow and seeks peace. Michael represents redemption through suffering, while William represents damnation through ego. I made a nice little chart that you can read for your convenience, where it does a comparison of William and Michael based on these different 2 interviews. Next, I will cover Baby, Ennard, and Golden Freddy. Who you surround yourself with tells a lot about who you are after all. I've used clips from Bonkbon's amazing video and some more interviews from MDPTV once again. Some questions I might ask here would be, did he truly love them? Did he know what he was doing?
Daddy, why
let the other children go see her. Why won't you let me go? Daddy, just once let me go play with her. She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
In Bong Bong's video, the overall premise in the video is that it dives into the significance and nuance of Elizabeth Afton's voice lines in the FNAF series, particularly in Sister Location. He puts emphasis on how her voice performance is key to understanding her character, despite her minimal screen time. I wanted to cover some things he said about Baby with Michael and Springtrap later. Bong Bong was the only one I saw who took this route to explore these characters, of examining their dialogue and delivery to understand them. For some context, Elizabeth Afton's voice is the first character in FNAF to have fully voiced dialogue. She was among the first voices heard in Sister Location, a game that shifted the series by integrating full voice acting beyond just phone guy. Voice isn't a gimmick, it's core to the storytelling in Sister Location. I might butcher this name, I apologize, but she was voiced by Zara Jane Nafki, whose performance is praised as deeply effective and nuanced. Elizabeth never appears on screen during her voice lines, nor is there any accompanying visual or audio context, like music or back and forth dialogue. The absence of explicit context makes her voice line uniquely powerful, relying entirely on vocal performance to convey emotion and backstory. When comparing scenes, Michael's lines in Custom Night with monologue, visuals, and music, and William Afton's lines with full conversations with visible interlocutor, while Elizabeth's lines are delivered in complete darkness and silence, enhancing their emotional and interpretive depth. For our interpretation of Elizabeth's voice lines, despite minimal context, Elizabeth's lines are clearly understandable, highlighting the strength of the vocal performance. Her lines give insight into her tragic character. Even though they're brief, I need to add clarification that there are dual voices, Elizabeth versus Circus Baby. Elizabeth's character is also expressed through the voice of Circus Baby, the animatronic she possesses post-death. Baby is voiced by Heather Masters, whose performance reflects trauma and restraint. Next are the differences and similarities. Their accents differ. British for Elizabeth, American for Baby. Due to Baby's built-in voice box, the cadence and speed patterns between the two suggest a shared identity, supporting the idea that Elizabeth still influences Baby. Next is development of Circus Baby's voice. Initially, Baby's voice in FNAF World was robotic. For Sister Location, Scott Cawthon asked Masters to make her more human and soft-spoken, a mix of coldness, affection, and sorrow. Masters took inspiration from the childlike Empress and the never-ending story, giving Baby a tortured, innocent tone. When it came to Heather Masters' understanding of Baby, Masters didn't know Baby's true purpose, killing children, until after the recording, which was revealed in Dako's interview. Her lack of knowledge likely enhanced the genuine innocence and sadness in her performance. Scott possibly withheld the truth, so her sadness in her performance, so her portrayal would feel authentic and emotionally layered, rather than overtly villainous. Some key themes are ambiguity and duality. Where does Elizabeth and Baby begin? The voices as storytelling. Both Nakvi and Master's performance are crucial to understanding the Afton narrative. Misunderstood villainy. Baby's voice masks deeper intentions, complicating how players perceive her. Bong Bong talks about mixed signals and manipulative tone. He speaks about tone whiplash. Baby's mood rapidly shifts, urgent, kind, ominous, creating emotional distance in the player, making them wonder if she's on their side. Indirect help. She offers information, not protection or comfort. Baby is subtly helpful without being transparent, maintaining her power. There's implied threats. Background sounds of danger, cracking and banging adds tension that Baby ignores, reinforcing that you're at risk, but she still chooses not to clarify. Control versus care. Baby recommends you hurry, not out of warmth, but to assert dominance over a vulnerable outsider. You're flaunting freedom in a prison. She shifts into vulnerability and unease, with her tone softening briefly. Baby's voice becomes almost sympathetic, instructing directly how to hide, saying, "You'll be safe there. Just try not to make eye contact." She gives calculated reassurance, despite softening. It's manipulative, never fully informative. You're safe, but don't know from what. She maintains fear, vague wording, they will lose interest, to keep the player off balance and anxious. She has disdain for the Biddy Babs. Her delivery suggests irritation and overfamiliarity with the Biddy Babs, hinting at a fractured alliance even among the animatronics. There's a return to coldness, control, and prioritization. She has abrupt emotional shifts. Once the threat passes, Baby drops emotional pretenses and becomes clinical and curt again. She has urgency over warmth. She wastes no time in checking on your well-being. It's back to the mission. She makes snide references to Hand Unit with clear disdain for the robotic guide, hinting at her belief that she should be a true guide, not him. There's power dynamics. She undermines Hand Unit's authority and tries to replace him as your source of truth and safety. All of this sounds very familiar so far for a certain purple killer. I wonder who it could be. I guess what they say is true. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Next, we have psychological manipulation and the Elizabeth reveal. Night 3 is when the deeper lore begins, where it introduces the meat of Baby's monologues. Her traumatic connection to Elizabeth Afton is a strategic omission. Baby recounts a violent event without revealing she knew the child, framing it as an impersonal memory. Later, she does emotional guilt tripping, where she uses Elizabeth's voice as inner to manipulate the player, whom she believed at the time to be William Afton. She pretends not to know, saying lines like, "Did you know?" Lines which are rhetorical and manipulative, designed to provoke self-reflection and guilt in Afton, whom she doesn't know is her older brother, Michael, by this point. She has dual personas and optional vulnerability, with optional dialogue where the monologue is off the main path, suggesting that what she shares is voluntary and emotional, not scripted or required, with genuine longing. Her wistful tone, "Only one day, what a wonderful day," when recalling the stage implies real fondness, not manipulation. She has childlike curiosity. Lines about music and birthday cakes reflect naivety or confusion, reinforcing the idea of a merged consciousness between Baby and Elizabeth. There's a sinister subtext. "I can make ice cream." Starts playing. She says she has a sinister subtext, saying things like "I can make ice cream," that she says playfully but turns chilling when recontextualized with earlier game hints of something sinister. There's emotional modulation and an unstable narrative tone. Baby shifts between detached narration and emotional vulnerability, suggesting a conflict between machine logic and lingering humanity and lingering human memory from Elizabeth's influence, saying things like "I couldn't move," which is voiced with distress, then immediately retreats into lethargy, mirroring traumatic responses like disassociation. The line, "But they couldn't hear her," carries empathy and helplessness, hinting at Elizabeth's internal emotional memory bleeding into Baby's tongue, reinforcing the blurred identity between Elizabeth and Baby. Baby may not fully understand where Elizabeth ends and she begins. There's vague language and minimizing of responsibility. Baby uses evasive phrases like "they were screaming only for a moment," minimizing her violent act, suggesting that she's either ashamed, repressing the full memory, or trying to emotionally detach from the horror of what she did. Her downplaying evokes a strange mix of sympathy and unease. The childlike inflection, "but it didn't mean to," humanizes her, but also infantilizes her guilt, making it feel insincere or manipulative. There are literal possession and trauma parallels, saying things like "I still hear her sometimes," doubles as both a traumatic memory and a literal haunting. Elizabeth's soul is inside Baby, invoking dramatic irony, where the players know this is not metaphorical. Elizabeth is literally possessing Baby. There's desperation and emotional conflict. Despite knowing why she was made, Baby's voice pleads more than questions, saying things like "why did that happen?" really means "why did it have to happen?" Her desperation signals regret and an internal desire for a different purpose, highlighting her tragic duality, entertainer versus killer. The proto-scrap Baby persona emerges. Night 4 marks a tonal metamorphosis. Baby's voice turns colder, sharper, more aggressive, and determined. This shift prefigures Scrap Baby, vengeful, theatrical, and self-aware. Heather Masters notes this as a sign of growing purpose and resentment, possibly directed at Afton, with calculated predation and psychological dominance. Baby looking at the player as Afton, motivating her to torment them. Her words drip with smugness and sarcasm, like a predator gloating over their prey. "I kidnapped you," is whispered, a traditionally calming delivery used to intensify dread. The juxtaposition between softness and horror creates psychological unease. This predatory behavior and creeping sadism, the whispering becomes hiss-like, consistent through her Night 4 dialogue. She clearly enjoys the power dynamic, speaking like a hunter, admiring her catch. The smile in her voice isn't just pride, it's deeply personal, fueled by grudge or vengeance. but she has hints of remorse and vulnerability. As she discusses the scooper, her tone changes again, becoming quieter, softer, more reflective. The venom fades, replaced by something almost regretful, suggesting a flicker of remaining humanity or confusion about her role. Some core themes in this section is identity fragmentation. Baby is both herself and Elizabeth. The memories and emotions are tangled. Psychological horror, emotional manipulation through tone, inflection, and whispering, weaponizing vulnerability. Guilt versus denial. Constant oscillation between taking responsibility and minimizing it. Transformation. The beginning of Baby becoming Scrap Baby, her personality sharpening with purpose, spite, and autonomy. Next is the themes about Baby's mask and pretending. Baby's wistful tone reveals longing. She envies the inability to feel pain, hinting at deep emotional trauma. Her emphasis on make-believe seems childish, yet is delivered with grave seriousness, showing she's still a child forced into adult behavior by a hostile environment. Baby admits something may be wrong inside her but prioritizes pretending. This survival mechanism protects her from the scooper. She has resentment in her voice when mentioning something wrong, suggesting she disagrees with the idea that she's inherently broken, possibly frustrated with her condition rather than remorseful. As she's referring to Elizabeth's spirit, this resentment could reflect guilt or indifference. Her motives blur between manipulation and genuine sorrow. The next thing is shifting voice as manipulation. Baby reverts to her shy tone but exaggerates it, selling desperation, manipulative, and emotionally charged. Her acknowledgement of pretending contrasts her earlier tone, tying Night 4 and Night 5 together through a false sense of continuity. References to Night 2 reinforces the trust. Baby exploits familiarity and past guidance to regain the player's trust. Baby evokes Balor as a false threat, taps into the past memories when following her was vital. Calculated emotional bait. Next is image reveal and lingering sadness. Despite winning, Baby's tone remains somber, possibly sincere. Her whispering and emotional fatigue suggest real trauma. Her longing to escape is genuine. Voice cracked hints at sadness and broken hope, not just manipulation. There's optimism when discussing escaping, shows her true desire for freedom, not just domination. There's a theme of performance versus purpose. Baby genuinely loved performing. Longing for that innocence reflects her core conflict, which contrasts her true passion, entertaining, with her forced role, killing. The hatred for Afton fuels her darker side, but it stems from injustice and exploitation. Even as she resents Afton, she tempers her hatred with sadness and lingering humanity. Empathy and shame coexist with vengeance. The next theme is isolation and identity crisis. After achieving her goal, Baby is still abandoned, freedom is still hollow without companionship. It introduces the blurred line between Elizabeth and Baby, sets up a fusion of memories and emotional imprints, not necessarily full identity overlap. There's a theme of Elizabeth's voice using Elizabeth's voices as insight. On paper, Elizabeth is generic and naive, but vocal performances add nuance. You can compare it to Verku Gestalt, but without the entitlement. Shows she's well-mannered and restrained, shaped by her father's expectations. Elizabeth reflects William Afton's demand for appearances. Her polite voice mirrors his rigid standards. The vocal delivery implies William is emotionally distant. Her intonation mimics a child seeking attention from a distracted parent. Her hesitant and rising tone mimics physical actions like shirt tugging, revealing vulnerability and learned caution. This section's notes. Elizabeth's emotional descent and the tragedy of her relationship with William. For Elizabeth's tone and delivery, there's an inverted emotional arc. Elizabeth's lines start loud but trail off, contrasting her defiant words with her hopeless tone. Rhetorical framing. She's not really asking to see Circus Baby, she's negotiating, or even pleading, aware she's not getting a real answer. There's implied alienation, setting the line. The other children hints at feelings of exhaustion and a growing suspicion that William doesn't care for her. Language and psychological framing. This awkward dictation, the other children, feels too formal or analytical for a child. Possibly an intentional writing choice suggesting Elizabeth is overly aware of roles and structure. William may have conditioned her to speak or think this way. Emotional distance reflects a cold or natural dynamic in the family, similar to how Michael refers to William as father, childlike speech versus adult expectations. Elizabeth's youth Elizabeth's youth is clear. Her mispronunciation and speech patterns are very childlike. There's abusive contrast. William treats her with expectations beyond her age, emotionally neglecting her. For some praise to the voice actor, an adult voice actor convincingly captures this vulnerable child energy. Elizabeth could have been misread as spoiled. The idea that Elizabeth is a brat is unfounded. Her tone is reverent, not demanding, when she has a plea saying, just once. It's a heartbreaking shift. Elizabeth asks with vulnerability, not entitlement. She has self-justification. She timidly lists reasons she likes baby, as if trying to validate her feelings. Shame and rejection. She feels embarrassed and wrong for wanting what she was promised. Minimal request reveal deep exhaustion. Just once. Emphasis shows how little she's asking for. She's begging for a single moment of inclusion. There's a balloons line that surprises in her voice suggests she didn't know what baby could do. Proof William kept her in the dark. The just for me claim feels hollow, more manipulative than promised. Next is escalation and emotional collapse. Gasp and trembling voice, emotionally raw delivery. The gasp before have you seen her make balloons? Signals childlike awe and confusion. Silence as neglect. William never responds, which emphasizes emotional abuse. She's talking to a wall. The final plea and rebellion trigger. Culmination of dejection. Her voice trembling, tone cracking. This is the emotional breaking point. A shift to demand. Let me go to her is the most assertive line so far, but still coded in indifference. Respect despite defiance. She doesn't rebel outright, she disobeys silently, still respecting her father's authority. Internal conflict and rationalization, with self-talk and planning. The line, "Daddy isn't watching," mirrors her earlier tone, quiet, unsure, negotiating. There's a twisted obedience. She convinces herself that as long as her disobedience isn't seen, she's still a good daughter, trying to please. Even in rebellion, she thinks about her father's expectations. She confides in baby, a tragic one-sided bond. Childish whispers and trust. Elizabeth treats baby like a friend. She smiles as she speaks. There's no fear, with genuine innocence. She believes in baby. Her tone is playful, curious, not anxious or panicked. There's false dialogue. Despite feeling like a conversation, baby is silent the entire time. Elizabeth is truly alone. The unseen danger. Baby's Night 3 monologue reveals she was motionless and unresponsive to Elizabeth until the moment she attacked. Elizabeth's final moments. She was speaking to a predator, not a companion, but still left a lasting impact on baby. Key themes across this section. Isolation. Elizabeth is emotionally and physically isolated, ignored by her father, unheard by baby. Manipulation. William's control over Elizabeth shapes how she speaks, feels, and even rebels. False promises. The idea that baby was made for her is undermined by how little she knows about baby. Innocence versus horror. Elizabeth's tragic innocence amplifies the horror of her fate. Her death is not the result of disobedience, but of abandonment. Next is emotional and character analysis. Elizabeth Afton and baby echoes of Elizabeth and baby's speech. Elizabeth Afton and baby echoes of Elizabeth and baby's final speech. Baby repeats "wonderful," similarly to Elizabeth, implying a direct connection, suggesting baby either absorbed Elizabeth's words or her memories, likely both. It creates ambiguity. Is baby speaking for herself or echoing Elizabeth? Elizabeth's claim about baby being made just for her. Elizabeth only mentions this once in desperation to persuade her father, never reiterates it, possibly realizing it was a hollow or meaningless gesture. Elizabeth speaks to baby as an equal, not as someone entitled, with lines like, "I wanted to watch your show too." Elizabeth's loneliness. Baby describes Elizabeth as standing by herself, redundant unless it was deliberate. Implies Elizabeth was isolated even before other children left. Children seem to have lived quietly on their own, possibly to avoid her. Elizabeth didn't notice, fixated on baby. Social rejection and emotional isolation. Elizabeth likely unaware of being ostracized. Other kids were indifferent to her disappearance. Baby notes their excitement on return. Nobody noticed or cared she was gone. Adds tragic depth. Then it's the vocal analysis of Elizabeth and Ennard. Both Elizabeth and Ennard, imitating her, speak in a soft, subdued tone. Ennard raises volume only for lines Elizabeth wouldn't say. Shows a mismatch. Elizabeth never yells, even when upset. Her voice remains small and controlled. Innard's mimicry captures her meek, childlike qualities, slurred speech, and soft tone. Evolution of Baby into Scrap Baby. In FNAF 6, Baby's more sadistic, but restrains but subtle Elizabeth traits. Baby's more sadistic, but retains subtle Elizabeth traits. Elizabethisms. Scrap Baby is more expressive, energetic, which contrasts with earlier subdued persona, which suggests blending of Elizabeth's essence with more violent programming over time. Scrap Baby's duality, sarcasm, and trauma. Scrap Baby's sardonic tone masks deeper emotional layers, vulnerability, trauma, and a desperate need for William Afton's approval. Heather Masters, who's Baby's voice actor, notes that Baby's sinister tone stems from desperation, which applies even more to Scrap Baby, who speaks this way almost constantly. There's voice shifts that ties to Elizabeth's personality. Her softer voice lines hint at emotional authenticity and are usually linked to Elizabeth's memories or identity. An example, I heard your call, delivered gently, implied loyalty and a lack of sarcasm. This shows she believes William called her, not the player, and reveals her uncertainty and need for connection. Ignorance and isolation. Despite sounding informed, Scrap Baby hasn't actually made contact with William and is left calling out blindly. She's disconnected, clinging to hope and an illusion rather than real knowledge. Saying lines, "It feels like home," suggesting emotional nostalgia. Her tone is filled with warmth and longing. Home suggests a deep-seated emotional connection. Fans interpret this as confirmation the player is Michael Afton, indicating she's in Elizabeth mode, connecting with a familiar environment associated with Michael, not William. Absent father implications. Baby's sense of home may come from William's absence. The idea that just possibly being near her father brings her comfort. This reflects Elizabeth's neglect, aligning with her portrayal in the fourth closet, where William ignored or hurt her. And it's the birthday line analysis, innocence versus irony. It feels like my birthday. Did you have a gift for me? Delivered with a childlike hope rather than sarcasm. Despite being said after she kills the player, the line sounds sweet and vulnerable. The pause and breathing suggest overwhelming emotion or fond memory, possibly of excitement or longing. There's two interpretations of the birthday motif. As Elizabeth's birthday equals Elizabeth's birthday being the day she died, confirmed by the smelled like birthday cake line. Circus Baby's birthday, day she was activated or gained sentience. Both interpretations feed into her desire for connection, recognition, and purpose. Scrap Baby's renewed purpose. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. Shows excitement, relief, and emotional catharsis. Her tone and breathing suggest near tears, a mix of regained agency and desperate hope. The line that defines her, "I will make you proud, Daddy," suggests it's her most emotionally raw line. Baby drops her sarcastic front and reverts to childlike sincerity, fully revealing her inner longing for William's approval. Personality shift, disdain to devotion. In Sister Location, Baby showed cunning and resentment toward Afton. In FNAF 6, she reversed it. She reveres him. Why the sudden change? Bonk Bon suggests it's because Baby misidentified the player in Sister Location as William and shaped her behavior accordingly. Identity crisis and role reversal. The speaker theorizes Baby assumed Elizabeth's persona in Sister Location as a strategy. By FNAF 6, with her plan failed and her leadership role gone, she becomes Elizabeth, fully internalizing the identity. Their rejection by the other Funtime animatronics and her failure in Sister Location led to a breakdown. Her only stability was pretending to be Elizabeth, leading to a shift in her motivation and personality. Their core themes are desperation for approval from Afton, emotional instability and identity confusion, rewriting memory to cope with trauma, performed behavior masking vulnerability, existential longing for purpose and a familiar connection. Key themes and character analysis. Elizabeth Afton's core desire is the craving for her father's approval. Circus Baby's motivation seeks to fulfill her purpose as created by William Afton. This becomes her way of imitating or appeasing him. Personality conflict. Circus Baby, sarcastic and calculating nature, often clashes with Baby's obedient and lonely personality. Despite differences, Baby occasionally shows vulnerability that aligns with Elizabeth's inner struggles, with their identities blurring. Circus Baby may be putting on a facade, especially when pretending to be Elizabeth. Both Baby and Elizabeth are shaped by deep trauma and a desire for purpose and love. Mirror dynamic. In the fourth closet, Elizabeth imitates Baby for attention, and FNAF 6, Baby imitates Elizabeth to win approval. Both fail due to William Afton's inability to love. Appreciation for Elizabeth. Elizabeth is an overlooked but richly layered character. She deserves more recognition beyond just being the child behind a robot. Next, in the second part, I'll recover some notes from MDPTV's interviews of Baby, which won't take as long, I promise. I think that's all I have time for in this first part of the Afton series here. So in the second part, we'll start with me covering notes from MDPTV's interviews of Baby, which won't be as long as this one was, covering her, promise. Then I'll cover innards and Golden Freddy, the rest of Michael's, etc. And probably get to the second section, talking about the monster and the man. The monster and the man. The second part should hopefully reach the second sub-point, which is the monster and the immortal, where we'll mostly cover William Afton. Stay tuned for this after story. Till then, see you next time. After Glyph Echo 2, Red World, Glass Shadows. Ignis sneaks into a dark stairwell. He ascends back to the upper levels, sticking to the shadows. He reaches his old office. It's undisturbed, but there's another note on the desk, with Shepard's handwriting. Ignis, if you're reading this, you started to see it. I've gone to deal with PDC. The breach was worse than we thought. There's a prototype weapon in my safe. Use the code you saw in Project Asclepius. Keep your head low. We're in deeper than even you know. Shepard. Ignis, reading it aloud, then mutters. He knew. He always knew. He opens the safe behind the bookshelf. Inside it is a sleek ray gun with arcane symbols etched in its side. It hums with strange, unearthly energy. Ignis stares at it for a moment before gripping it tightly. Ignis' internal monologue. Firm. I don't know if I'm supposed to stop this, but I'm damn well going to find out what they've been hiding. Ignis slips out of the building, past these shadows as the Darrow hunt the halls behind him. The light above the door flickers once, then dies. Later, in the darkness, with faint humming, then a flickering fluorescent light stutters on. Ignis crouches behind a desk in the administrative wing. The hallway outside crackles with static from Darrow comms. The distorted robot voices echoed in garbled fragments. Darrow patrol, faint. Sector Gamma 6, breach confirmed. Organic signature deviated. Ignis exhales slowly. Sweat beads down his temple. Ignis' monologue quieter this time. Shepard's gone. Of course he is. How they noise about contingencies, and he still ran straight to PDC. I should have seen it. Should have stopped this before it started. Creeps from the office into Shepard's private room, still dim and mostly untouched, except for a coffee mug, long cold with lipstick not his. On the desk, another note waits. Gone to PDC for the damned interview. Don't mess with the files, I'm out. Shepard. Ignis scoffs. Bitter. Interview my ass. He knew what was happening with the glyphs. Why hide it? He looks closer. Scribbled lightly on red ink on the back of the page is an encrypted sequence, ciphered in Project Asclepius protocol. Glows faintly as he runs his fingers across it. Ignis, internal monologue. Red ink, red words. Nephilim tech hides in language. I remember now. The code's not for the terminal. It's for the safe. Ignis turns the bookshelf aside. He enters the code 17OREQ. With a hiss, the safe opens. Inside is the ray gun. Its surface shimmers with oily light, runes shifting subtly. Ignis lifts it. It vibrates once in his grip, as if recognizing him. Real blood weapon. This is why they needed us to run the sim, to teach them how to kill gods. Suddenly, the Darrow breached through the northern wall. With a heavy crash, dust clouds flood the hull. They're a unit, nullified, anomaly identified, engaged. Ignis rolls behind cover and fires. The ray gun pulses with violet light. A focused arc of real charge energy slams the lead Darrow into the wall. It disintegrates, screaming in a voice not wholly synthetic. Ignis, well stuttered. It works. Another Darrow flanks. Ignis bolts into a stairway, taking 2 shots down the hall as he moves. He bursts through the second floor, emergency exit, and runs. As he nears the surface, the simulation flickers around him. Walls ripple like heat waves. Hallways vanish. Reality. Glitches. Ignis, panting internal. This whole building, it's not a base. It's a part of the anchor. The glyphs wrote this place into existence. He burst onto the roof under artificial moonlight. A helipad glows faintly blue. A surveillance drone buzzes above. A single figment of a Nephilim stares at him from the roof's edge. Just a silhouette with unfathomable eyes. It whispers without moving its mouth. Nephilim echo. Telepathic. Layered voice. I gave you the key, but you still don't understand the door. Ignis is shouting. Show me! His vision vanishes. Reality settles. He's alone again. Looks down at the note in his hand, then to the glowing weapon. Ignis internal. I will build this. The glyphs. The anchors. All the testing. All the lives you've written. I have to fix this. Or end it. Ignis turns. The camera follows him as he disappears into the night. The building behind him groans as power fails across the simulation core.